Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormy B-Man, and I am back. Welcoming you to Kung Fu Film Focus for this Thursday, September 21st, 2023. And tonight we have for you the review of the film from Shaw Brothers Studio from 1972. A classic that is a part of a trilogy, believe it or not, but were made at different times. But the films were all inclusive because they centered around a particular character played by Tai Lung, Shaw Brothers' famous studio star from the early and mid 70s. This film is The Delightful Forest. The Delightful Forest is a film that, if you watched it on its own, it has quite a bit of a interesting, how can I say, it has an interesting vibe because it is centered around a ton of violence. And the film was directed by legendary director Chang Cheh. The martial arts performed in the film were choreographed by Tong Kai, Lau Kao Leung, and Lau Kao Wing. Also Chan Chun. These four men were synonymous with martial arts choreography for Shaw Studios during the late 60s and early 70s, particularly Tong Kai. Tong Kai was the main choreographer. You could almost call him the studio choreographer for martial arts action. Liao Kao Leung was someone who would eventually replace him as that, but not due to he being no longer needed. It was because Lau, also known as Pops, the older of the Lau brothers, had a direct lineage to martial arts training that traces all the way back to Wong Fei Hung. Pops was a tremendous martial artist. Many people don't understand how versed he was. If you like someone whose name you've heard mentioned with martial art films in the past, a gentleman by the name of Bruce Lee, just know that Pops was Bruce before Bruce and had such an eye and vibe on the various styles of martial arts and weaponry that went along with martial arts that he was able to teach his co-stars, actors, and students from the ground up in their skills and abilities. He never got the recognition that he truly deserved, but those who have studied these films, as well as his career in particular, do know how important and significant he was. This film was also co-directed by Shaw Studio director Pao Su Lee, and he often shadowed I was about to say Lo Wei, forgive me. He often shadowed Chang She as a co-director, at times putting in a lot of the director's work. And then this film is no different. There's a main character, as I stated earlier, that's played in this film by Tai Lung. The character's name is Wu Song. Now, Wu Song is a character from some fabled stories that are legends within themselves. This particular screenplay was written by E. Kwang. E. Kwang wrote a lot of films for both Shaw Studios, independent studios, and Golden Harvest Films. E. Kwang passed away last year, July 3rd. He had written so many films, 221 to be exact. One of his most famous film screenplays was Jimmy Wong Yu's The One-Armed Swordsman from 1967. But here we're talking about The Delightful Forest. Wu Song appeared in some other Shaw Brothers films, such as The Water Margin, also known as Seven Blows of the Dragon, and The Tiger Killer, a rare Shaw Brothers film that featured him as a character as he took revenge for his brother, which led directly into The Delightful Forest. But the brother that he took revenge for was a part of a character featured in the film Intimate Confessions of a Chinese Courtesan. Now, that film had a character there that many people kind of overlooked. I pause for a moment because I'm just allowing myself to realize how some of these films were connected. Ku Feng played the role of Wu Song's brother in Tiger Killer. This film came almost a little over a decade after The Delightful Forest, and it was directed by Han Sing Lee. But it's very important because it's the film that also established the legend of Wu Song, who was noted through Chinese lore to have killed a tiger with his bare hands. There's just so much knowledge, so much history ripe with these films. And I could go on, but it's like I'm not trying to get off the subject of tonight's film. It's just that there is so much that's attached to this. Knowing that Shaw Brothers had such an extensive group of creative people who could produce these films for them, it's no wonder why, when you look back on their library of over 900 films, that some of this gets lost in the numbers. Everything that they did not get a U.S. release. Though almost everything that they did played in U.S. Chinatowns. That was where you could go to see a lot of these films in their initial and reruns. In fact, when some of the movie houses in the U.S. closed for good, by the Shaws, owned by the Shaws, some of them left their old film reels behind. Thus, novice collectors were able to get 35 millimeter prints of some of these old classics. It's funny the way that they looked at the films. And over the years, as martial art film genre kind of like ran low, they didn't really care like we care. Let me go to the chat for a moment. We got Yahweh is out there in the building. What's good with you? Shogun 76, is always good to see the Shogun of Harlem in the chat. What's happening, brother? And Rashid Rourke, my man, is out there saying, wait, there's a prequel to The Delightful Forest? Yes, sir. Rashid Rourke, it's called The Tiger Killer, a Shaw Brothers film from 1983. Still starring Tai Lung as the character Wu Song. The sequels are The Water Margin and All Men Are Brothers. In the U.S., The Water Margin was known through a specific Warner Brothers re-edit as Seven Blows of the Dragon. The film was almost 2 hours long, and the Kung Fu film craze in the U.S. saw Warner Brothers re-edit the film with new sound effects and music and it was released as Seven Blows of the Dragon. One of my favorite versions of a Chinese film that I prefer the American edit over, because they used similar sound effects like that you remember from like Enter the Dragon. You could actually hear some of the same kind of sound effect cues in Seven Blows of the Dragon that you see in hear in Enter the Dragon. Because Warner Brothers released that film and another Shaw Brothers classic, Sacred Knives of Vengeance, also known in its original Chinese name as The Killer. So, just giving a little background on this, Wu Song played in all four of those films: Delightful Forest, The Tiger's Killer, All Men Are Brothers, and the other film escapes me. Excuse me. And Tai Lung was probably the best. I'm going out on a limb when I say this. This is probably only my opinion here, right? It doesn't mean that this is the Holy Grail or the Holy Gospel or anything. But Tai Lung might have been the best leading actor of martial art films during the Kung Fu film craze. This gentleman was well versed in portraying and biting into the meat of his characters. His role as Wu Song sees him transition, where he went from a mild strong man who always looked out for the weak and the poor. And though his older brother that you see in the film Tiger's Killer, his older brother was like a special needs guy. He was short. He was born with a defect, but he was a respected man about town. And when one of the vicious women had him set up and killed, she was his wife. Wu Song took revenge for his brother and took down all of those who conspired against his brother and the woman who had married him. The Delightful Forest picks up after that story, where he's kind of now on the run, but not really. The film opens with Tai Lung going after one of his brother's killers. And after he murders the guy in revenge, he turns himself over to the law. And as they take him into custody, they begin to trek across the plains to get to the town where he will be prosecuted. In the meantime, a villain in the town, played by veteran actor Chu Mu, has begun to take over the town. He's playing Jiang Zhang, who is a baddie and comes into town as a gangster, and he's ripping off all of the well-to-do people and takes over the town basically. So, as Wu Song is in prison, one of the men who was hired to try to take down Chu Mu, playing Jiang Zhang, finds out about Wu Song being in the prison. And he decides to try to enlist the assistance of Wu Song, because he's heard of Wu Song's prowess. They heard of him as the Tiger's killer. So Shi-In, the Golden Eye, who they call him, played by Tien Chin. Tien Chin is out to enlist the services of Wu Song to get revenge and get the baddie Jiang Zhang out of town. He courts Wu Song with food and drink after Wu Song has been warned by the other prisoners, be careful when they're trying to feed you and give you drink, they're just fattening you up for the kill. They do this before they take a man out, and they have several ways that they come after you. They smother you, or they torture you and put you to death. And so Wu Song was like very leery. They kept bringing him food and drink. So he demanded to see the Golden Eye. That, why are you doing this? And he finally professes that we would like to hire you to get rid of this bandit that has taken over our town. And that's where the story begins, as Wu Song travels to the town that they call the Delightful Forest. That's where the bandit Jiang Zhang has taken over. And it's so funny because as you see these characters in the film, you know that they're full of backstabbing and backbiting, as a lot of revenge-driven martial art films happen to be. This one, no different. But along the way, Wu Song shows not only his fighting prowess, but he gets a chance to garner the respect of the people. Because as he travels to the Delightful Forest, he promises that he'll help these people get rid of the villain. But he wants to stop every time there's an inn and have a drink. And when he drinks heavy. So it's like by the time he gets to the Delightful Forest, after several stop-offs at inns along the way, he's kind of staggering drunk now. And so the Golden Eye is asking him, are you going to be able to fight Tien Zhang? And he's like, oh, don't worry about him. I'll handle him easy. He's like, oh, you think I'm not capable because I'm drunk? And he's like, no. Tai Lung was a great actor, man. He's joined in here by Yu Feng, who you see in All Men Are Brothers as a character that she's the lady with the whip in the water margin in All Men Are Brothers. And her husband, played by Wang Kang Yu, and he is also in the water margin and All Men Are Brothers. So Wu Song he meets her early in the film and her husband, and they become blood brothers, united for a just cause. And they tell Wu Song, if you ever want to come back this way, because they own their own inn, they said that you could hide here with us and no one will ever know, because no one ever comes through these parts. Now, there is a character in the film who is at the base of the despisement, and he's played by veteran actor Chang Nan, who I love this guy as a villain. He's easy to hate. And in Shaw Brothers classic The Killer, he played an evil guy that was trying to pit the two blood brothers against each other in that film. And I love the American dub of the film because they gave him this little weasel voice and everything. And he was like, oh, we need to kill them, you know. It's like he was one of those characters that you love to hate. Similar to Wei Peng Ao, who played the little Japanese interpreter in Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury, aka Chinese Connection. He was an easy to hate character like that in his films. And in this film is no different because he's got it set up where both he and Chu Mu playing Jing Zhang conspire to kill Wu Song. These guys are something else, man. And I'm telling you, this film shows a lot of different types of betrayals. And they're just active in here doing all kinds of foolishness, man. But definitely the action here is fitting. Like I said, it's one of the more bloody Shaw Brothers films and violent, because there's tons of blood when the killing and bloodletting starts. It's everywhere, sprayed on the walls, all over their clothing. And if you like those early 70s violent kung fu films, that's what this is. Big time. Very entertaining. Very much a well-told story, to believe it or not, for a kung fu film. The Delightful Forest makes you love and hate the characters that you see played out on the screen here. I see we got Main Biker in the building. What's good with you, man? Flawless Mentality and Black Excellence, hosted by Dr. Mark, is in the building. What's good? But as I was saying earlier about Tai Lung's acting ability, he was like a Chinese De Niro. Though often some of his characters he played would be reminiscent of Clint Eastwood-like characters. Strong, silent type, the man with no name. The character that he played in the film The Magic Blade was so much like a Clint Eastwood man with no name, down to the poncho that he wore and his sword that he kept on his side like a gun holster that had a swivel on its handle. Tai Lung was excellent, man. He also doesn't get enough acknowledgement for what he was able to do with his career. As I look into one of the well-written film reviews for the Delightful Forest, this particular review is from an article from AsianMoviePulse.com, and it is written by an author by the name of David Chu. He describes this film as a Shaw Brothers production about Wu Song, a famous character from the classic novel Outlaws of the Marsh or the Water Margin. Often described as a muscular and respectable man, Wu Song also likes his wine. However, he's greatly renowned for killing a tiger with his bare hands. At the start of the Delightful Forest, Wu Song is out to avenge his brother, which I explained. I'm just running through this review for you guys right now. Upon hearing that he was killed by his adulterous sister-in-law, Pan Ji Lan, and her lover, Ji Min King. Since he was already killed, Pan Since he has already killed Pan, it's time to settle the score with Jimin King. Being a righteous man who owns up to whatever he does, Woo-sung is sent to prison after killing Jimin. Interestingly, with the help of an officer, Shi-in, he's treated exceedingly well there and even escapes the traditional punishment. In return, he agrees to help Shi-in get rid of a bullying thug named Chiang Jan in a town called Delightful Forest, where he has an interest in a gambling den. See, that's what I explained too. The reviewer is kind of like going over what I said. And I'm actually reading this review fresh. I didn't read it before coming on the air, but I saw it and wanted to bring it on to help spread the thought of what was transpiring in the film. And I seem to have covered it from memory very well, even though I watched it about a week ago. This is one of my favorite films in my collection, and it came out recently in the Shaw Brothers box set that sees the original Mandarin dub and the English dub for the first time together on the same disc, which is why it was a must-buy for me. But when I talk about these films, I try to give a little bit of the historical aspect of it and let you know what is interesting about these films and why you should check them out. This article goes on to say, the role of Woo-sung is wonderfully played by none other than Tai Lung, one of Shaw Brothers' most dashing wuxia actors. He's also skilled in the Wing Chun style of martial arts. Tai Lung's take on Woo-sung is spot on. We could see a virtuous man, likable and full of energy. As always, he's not shy to boast about how he kills a tiger with his bare hands, and he's ready to kill evil people. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, there's a point in the film where he holds his fist up and says, "Evil guys must die," or something like that. One of those standout moments, man. It's kind of campy, but I like it. Furthermore, he likes to drink, believes drinking makes him more powerful, and therefore we see him drinking all the time and throughout the movie. Chu Mu plays the villain Chiang Zhang, the thug who causes trouble in the town of the Delightful Forest. Chi Mu is more than an adequate actor and does a decent job here using being unpleasant and ruthless. There's a respectable officer, Shi Yin, played by Tien Chen, who takes care of Woo-sung in prison. This is not a demanding role. He's just a typical virtuous guy in any Shaw Brothers movie. Same as the rest of the minor characters. When it comes to the corrupted officer and villains, they only need to act mean with a bust of evil laughs thrown in every so often. The article goes on to finish. As predicted, there's plenty of fights in the Delightful Forest, but the final one is particular, brutal, and bloody. After all this is directed by Chang Che. Furthermore, we get to see Tai Lung displaying his skills with the broadsword, besides the usual bare hand combat and high kicks. Slow motion is also used quite a lot to emphasize the impact of action. Overall, this is one of Shaw Brothers' better movies, entertaining all the way through and action-packed. Having the charming Tai Lung in the lead is the icing on the cake. You see, now that was from this article, the gentleman that wrote this article, David Chu. Listen, highly recommended. This film is highly recommended. But that's what I try to do. I try to paint that picture for you guys as well, so that you will have a great choice. You know, when you look to pick out a Kung Fu film, listen to what Stormy has to offer on this. I can always share with you some titles that will educate and entertain at the same time. Some of these production stills that I'm showing on the screen just depict some of the action out of the film, but the film is very entertaining. And if you are one of the ones who enjoy bloody fights in the climatic battles, this film does it. If you ever saw The Boxer from Shantung, or The Killer from Shantung, as it's also known, starring Chen Quan Tai, that film had a very bloody ending where they were fighting with axes and knives. That's how this film ends. One of the best parts is seeing Wu Song return back to his mountain retreat where his newly found blood brothers told him he could return if he ever wanted to get away. And he does so, and they adorn him with these robes, beads, and headgear that is reminiscent of a monk. And he adopts that as his attire as the film ends. And that's what you see him wearing when you see him in Seven Blows of the Dragon, aka The Water Margin, or All Men Are Brothers, the sequel. So Wu Song is a very popular character in Chinese lore, based on a real person, but brought to life on film by Tai Lung. If you guys got any questions about this, please feel free to ask in the chat, because I'm just trying to share here. I'm not appearing on screen tonight because Stormy had a little bit of a procedure done to take the skin tag off my face, but it's not healing fast enough for me, so I don't want to appear on cam right now while I've got this little inconvenience. But I thought I would explain myself on that, because typically I show myself when I come on this show. Rashid Rourke says, I agree, Tai Lung is a good actor. No, he was great, bro. He was great. For that era and for all of the men who acted in films and everything, Bruce Lee was a very experienced actor because he started films when he was a child. And he was known as the Little Dragon in Chinese, in Hong Kong films. But when he became a man, and he returned after 12 years of being in the United States, when he tried to get involved in the film industry again, people basically remembered him as that little kid. They didn't think of him as a kung fu guy or anything like that. So he set the world on its end with something like what he was able to do when he signed up for films with Golden Harvest. But Tai Lung honed his craft while in the Shaw studio and became head and shoulders above a lot of his contemporaries. His portrayal of Ma Chen-yi in The Blood Brothers was equally as good as his role of playing Wu Song. He seemed to be able to capture the characteristics of whomever he played very well. he did a film called The Drug Addict. I believe it was directed by David Chang or himself. And in that film, he played a guy who was strung out. And his performance in that was very good. Very good. Tai Lung was excellent, man. And he was a big, strong, handsome guy that didn't walk around like he was the ish. He was very humble and modest. And when you see him talk today, it's like he's still that humble and modest guy. He wears a bow tie and stuff. He's an old elderly Chinese man now, but it's like he's still really cool. He was always one of my favorites as I was watching the Shaw Brothers films. And as a kid growing up, I didn't know him. You know, I didn't know who he was. But of course, having reflected back on the careers of so many these practitioners of the martial arts and performers in front of and behind the camera, he stands out head and shoulders. He did a film with Stuart Whitman called They Call Him Mr. Shatter, also known simply as Shatter. And that was his first crossover film with the Western background, and he speaks English in there. And his English voice is like very teeny, like he doesn't sound like you might think he would sound. Like, you know, when you see Mike Tyson, when he first burst on the scene, the young, muscular, big guy and strong looking, and then when he talked, he had such a light, high-pitched voice that was kind of like Tai Lung when he began to speak English in his English roles. He's also known for the A Better Tomorrow films, where Part 1 and Part 2, where he played in with Chow Yun-fat. Two classic films there. Tai Lung is excellent, man. Tai Lung was excellent. Rashid Rourke says, you're good. May you heal quickly and safely. Hey, thanks for that, Rashid Rourke. He says, was it opium he was addicted to, Stormy B? You know what? In The Drug Addict, I think it was opium. But I also know that Tai Lung played in another classic Shaw Brothers film called Opium and the Kung Fu Master, where he was addicted to opium in that film. And he was a Kung Fu instructor there who couldn't shake the opium habit. And he was damn good in that. Man, this guy has been in some really good Kung Fu films, y'all. Tai Lung. Very good films. Yeah, opium was big in Hong Kong, man. It was something that really set a lot of the wealthy Chinese men behind when they got addicted to that stuff. But you know what? This is how they get you, man. Foreigners, they be like, oh, they're like this, and they get you on that and malt liquor and everything. Next thing you know, they done took over your lives. Wiped you out as a people. Yeah, Rashid, that might have been Opium and the Kung Fu Master that you're thinking about, because Chen Kwai Tai is a villain in that film. And he has to break his opium habit to defeat the bad guys at the end, because one of his students died as a result of trying to fight the bad guys in their town. And Tai Lung was so addicted to opium he couldn't help his own student, and his student ended up dying. And that's when he made his vow to break and shake his opium habit. And he came back and defeated the bad guys at the end, but not before his student famously perished. That's a very good film too. I remember I was wanting it on Blu-ray for a long time, and it was about to go out of print, and I thought that I wasn't going to be able, I thought I wasn't going to be able to get a copy of it before it went out of print, but I was able to find a copy, and I did. But Opium and Kung Fu Master is a tremendous Shaw Brothers film, and I think I'll do a Kung Fu film focus on that one soon as well. But like I said, with all the films that Shaw does, I could be doing Shaw Brothers reviews, and I could do one a week for the next 4 or 5 years and don't cover them all. That's how many they have. Rashid says, Avenging Eagles, 10 Tigers from Kwantung. Tai Lung is underrated. Hey, man. He's really good in some of the films. Like Vengeance with he and David Chang. He's very good in that. Blood Brothers, which is a favorite of mine. I love him in Blood Brothers. That's the one where he was trying to take his friend's wife. Tai Lung was he fell in love with Chen Kwa Tai's wife, and they were blood brothers, but he set Chen Kwa Tai up so that he could have his wife. Man, that film was famously remade in the early to mid 2000s with Jet Li, the Blood Brothers, with Jet Li playing the role that Tai Lung played. It's called The Warlord. If you guys haven't seen that Jet Li film, The Warlord, and it stars Takashi Kaneshiro and also Andy Lau, a very good film. It's a updated remake of Shaw Brothers' Blood Brothers, but it's set in a warring time, not unlike the Shaw Brothers era, but where they wore the Ching ponytails and everything, but it's a whole different type of setting. The emphasis isn't really on martial arts as much as it is warring factions. And that film is really good, people. The Warlord, starring Jet Li. But as I was asking, if you guys got any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. I see C. Wood has come in the building. What's good with you, C. Wood? He says, the Shaw Brothers gave us true gems. Yes, they did, man, for well over a generation. Rashid says, that sounds familiar. Not sure if I saw it. The Tai Lung version. The Tai Lung version, man, is what we're talking about. You know, the Blood Brothers. He and David Chang, Chen Kwa Tai. And see, in the Warlord's version, Jet Li is playing Tai Lung's character. Andy Lau is playing Chen Kwa Tai's character. And Takashi Kaneshiro is playing David Chang's character. Yeah, it's an excellent film. Man, I might do a Kung Fu film focus on that, even though Kung Fu is not the primary focus of that film. But damn, it's a damn good movie, man. Oh, my goodness. Sitting here talking about this film tonight, leading me down that path to remember the Warlords. Oh, my goodness. I tell you, man, I've got some tremendous films in my library, man. Wow. Yeah, it's from 2007. The Warlords. If you guys haven't watched that film, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend The Warlords. There's a scene in The Warlords that is one of my favorites, and it's when Takashi Kaneshiro catches Jet Li's character with his blood brother's wife. They're on a boat. They met up because he followed the wife where she was going. Because he was suspecting something about her, right? Because she was acting strange. But the husband didn't pick up on it. And he followed her to the boat where she met up with Jet Li. But Takashi, he didn't know that was Jet Li on the boat. He just saw her get on the boat because he was watching from the shoreline. And she got on the boat. And she got on the boat. And like inside the boat, they got those little windows and stuff on the boat. And you saw a person go to the window, and it was Jet Li. And she was sitting down, and he was smiling, talking to her, and he turned to close the shutter on the boat. And Takashi was looking, and he saw Jet Li, and Jet Li made eye contact with him, and then he just slowly closed the shutter on the window. Man, that was one of the coldest scenes in the movie, because it was like, that's when he realized that dude was cheating on his blood brother's, with his blood brother's wife, man. Oh my goodness, man. That film, woo! If you watch that film, you are going to thank me. I guarantee you. Because it's a very good movie. It's rated 4.5 out of 5 stars. The Warlord. Rasheed Rourke says, Stormy B, where do you find your movies? Do you have a particular site you order from? Hey man, great question. I order from a lot of different places. Most of the time, Rasheed and chat, I will order internationally, because a lot of the films, you don't get the proper versions of them domestically here in the U.S. They might even show some films that are where they purchased the rights. But you can go online, like you could type the titles in and go online to different websites and get the international versions of the films. A lot of films that are released in the UK, a lot of films that are released in Hong Kong. There are a few Hong Kong sites like Yes Asia that I go to and everything, but almost 60% of my martial arts film library are films that I didn't get out of the US. Like 60%. So just know that, and you would do yourself a huge solid favor if you purchased an all-region DVD player or Blu-ray player. Or now they have modifiers that you could purchase. You could find them on eBay and sometimes even on Amazon, but mostly on eBay. You could purchase a modifier for your player. It's just a little device that you plug in to your Blu-ray player that will allow your Blu-ray player to play films from different regions. And that will make it so much easier for you, because if you don't want to spend the money to buy a all-region player, you could put a modifier on your player, and next thing you know, you can watch films from whatever part of the world. All you have to do is punch in a code on the remote to change the region when you use a modifier. I've had both. I've had modifiers that I've connected to my regular players, and then I've purchased all region players as well. So Stormy makes sure that he keep his all regions so I could watch them. I'll tell you guys a little fun fact. My first all region DVD player, I purchased it for one movie and one movie only. Do you know what that film was? Hero, Jet Li's film. There was this little Asian novelty store that sold CDs, DVDs, VCDs, and various electronics and stuff in the neighborhood where I lived. And I went in there and I was combing through his DVD section. And I saw a lot of films by Andy Lau and stuff like that, but I saw Hero, and it was in DTS audio and stuff, because that was back before Blu-ray. And I looked at that and I was like, you know what? I got to get this movie. And the gentleman told me, he was like, but you got to make sure you have an all region player for that, because on the back it shows the code, what region it is. Typically films from Hong Kong are region 3. The UK might be region 2. And the US is region 1. So it said region 3 on there. And I was like, he's like, it won't play in an American player, so you need to get you a all region player. So that's when I learned about all region players. I bought an all region player from that same store, bought that movie, and I watched that movie like 10 times. I love Hero, man. Hero is a great film. One of Jet Li's best. Yeah. Yeah, Rashid says, oh, okay, I didn't consider looking overseas. That's the place to look first, bro. That's the place to look first. Because I'll tell you something. You could get an American version of a film and find that the film been cut by 20 minutes sometimes. Yep. But yeah, man, I watch Hero. I watch, man, so many of my Shaw Brothers films, bro. Yeah. But I really enjoy talking about these Kung Fu films with you guys. I just wish that some of you, because even though it says 8 people out there, only one person is pretty much asking questions and things like that. I wish that some of you more would participate, because it'll help the show out for me to be able to talk about this stuff. Like I said, I'll answer questions that I can, but it helps when some of you, kind of put something out there, because you might ask a question that someone else didn't think to ask and they want to know the answer to, and it'll help promote, the information on these films. But just know that, I produce this because I enjoy it. Just like when I do the Nerds on Culture on Monday nights, I do this show because of my love and affinity for Kung Fu films. And I know some of you out there love it too, because you be watching. So let's just be a family about this and just take it in, man. I put this stuff together for you guys. I have the graphics and the movie images and the actors and stuff up there. It takes time to sit up and do all of this stuff, man. And I don't care if I got 200 people in here or 2 people in here. The thing I want is the reciprocity and appreciation of, you're here because I'm here, and I'm here because you're here, and we're here for these films that we love. You know what I mean? So that's what that's all about, man. Knowledge of Self-Determination says, tuned in too late. You can always go back and catch the replay. It don't end there. You could go back and watch some of the others that are in the archive. It's like, these films are great, man. I don't think I've done a review on a bad Kung Fu film yet, because when I do them, I like to recommend. Now, there are some horrible ones out there. There really are. But that's not what this is about. It's about taking the subject and talking about what strikes you about it. That's what this is all about. King Corleone says, I'm enjoying the live. Got ice on my black eye from sparring, but I'm here. Hey, King Corleone, I feel like I need some ice on these doggone skin tags on my face, man. I had put some treatment on there, and it turned them very dark. It looked like I got dark ink marks on my face, but this stuff is supposed to dry up and it's supposed to come off, but it's going to be a few days, maybe even a week or more before I get this stuff off my face. But it's better than putting that laser to my face. I didn't want to do the laser thing. I was at work. They was looking at my face. They was like, oh, what happened? Because I had the bandage on, you know. He was like, what happened? I was like, man, I just had a little treatment, that's all. Then, of course, people was talking about, oh, you got in trouble with the wife, huh? Like, even if I tried to use that excuse, nobody would care. They'd be like, she should have got rid of you. Yeah. Rashid says, you do a very good job of describing the movies and breaking it down, the details of the actors and backgrounds. Hey, man, that's just something I really enjoy. You know, I take the time out to do that because it's fulfilling. And and a lot of the information I know just from following the genre for so long. It's so interesting that I never thought that I would be doing this, being online talking about Kung Fu films. Never thought. Main Biker says, I seen Jet Li Hero like 200 times, literally. I used to work at Circuit City and we had it on repeat on our display TV. Hey man, I miss Circuit City, Main Biker. I actually liked Circuit City. They were a perfect rival to Best Buy, and I would go back and forth between the stores on Tuesday when it was release day for movies. I used to go in there, man, and just Circuit City is where I bought my first home theater speakers and stuff. It's like, man, they used to have these open box deals that were outstanding. I miss Circuit City, bro. I sure miss it. It's funny that you mentioned that because in some ways they were better than Best Buy. In other ways, Best Buy was better about other things, but both stores could have survived, man. And I'm so sad to have seen Circuit City go out of business. Rashid Work says, I'm struggling to stay awake. Take yourself to sleep, man, and check the replay out. Main Biker says, Stormy out here looking like he got into a battle with Arthur Bitterbeeve. Yeah, that's about it. Except for it looks like he used the Hans claw on my face and stuck it through my skin or something. King Corleone says, nobody ever believes the true story that you tell about your black eye. Yeah, man. That's crazy, right? Knowledge of Self-Determination says, just learned of your channel when we were on Blue Bloods panel. I love Kung Fu films, so I will be tuning in. Hey, man, you could go back on my page and check in the archives, type in Kung Fu Film Focus, and you'll see all of the titles come up. I've done almost 80 reviews on these films already. I didn't realize it was that many. I thought it was like 30 or something. But I did like damn near 30, man. I mean 80. So I'm like, I didn't realize I had done so many Kung Fu Film Focus. I've done a lot. Main Biker says, yep, working at Circuit City grew me up. I became a manager and all. Hey, man, that's great. That's great. Hey, and knowledge of self-determination. If you heard about me from being over there with Blue Blood, hey, I thanks to Blue Blood, man, because that's a solid brother. Blue Blood is one of my close brothers out here in these YouTube streets where we create content. I got a lot of respect for what he does. That's why you see me in his chat supporting him from time to time. And I know he's the hardest working guy out here doing what he does. But I got a lot of respect for Blue Blood, man. And he's shown a lot of respect to me. So I don't have anything bad to say about Blue Blood, but good things. And if you came from over there with rocking with him, then consider us family, because that's what it's like. You know what I'm saying? But I do my content here as well. So you can tune into my boxing content, which will knock your socks off, because I attack the sport from a different lens, as I like to say. And I do my thing my way, but there's no fanfare here as far as fanboyism and all of that. This is the sensei talking and breaking it down like I do. You know what I'm saying? So nothing but respect when I approach the sport. My video I did earlier today that premiered this morning on Zhang versus Joyce 2 this Saturday, it's kind of like a lot of views on that. A lot of people checking it out. And I got a very good one coming out Saturday morning before Conor Ben fights. I did a nice video on Conor Ben. The fact that they gonna let this guy come to Florida and sneak in there on that undercard of Hitchens versus Zepeda, and the guy was banned from the UK for popping dirty. So we can't have that. We can't have that. People need to talk about it, but they still out here talking about Spence and Crawford. Can you believe that mess? No Smoke says 100. Main Biker says, Stormy, which one is sharper, Hans claws or Wolverine claws? I don't know. Them Hans claws that he used, them sharp, long metal things that he was slapping Bruce Lee with, man, them things look like vibranium. Shit. Knowledge says, yes, sir, you're a historian, so I will be here soaking up the knowledge. I have a historian background as far as these Kung Fu films, but Blue likes to call me a historian regarding boxing. I just know a little boxing because I've been around a minute, but it's like I don't consider myself the historian when it comes to boxing. I consider Kurt and Scrapbook the true historians, but I understand what Blue says, and it's all love and respect. King Corleone says, yeah, Blue's awesome. Rashid says, just don't yawn, anyone. Those are the contagious. Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But yeah, this is, you know. But man, I was gonna play the trailer for Delightful Forest, but the last time I played a Celestial trailer for a Shaw Brothers film, they took the monetization off of the show, so I ain't gonna play it this time. They're gonna have to just view things from my still photographs that I shared with you guys tonight. They ain't gonna get my money this time. Main Biker is asking, yo, Stormy, is Bruce Lee the best nunchucker person, or is there someone else I should look up? Yeah, you should look up Dan Inosanto, Bruce Lee's good friend, who also appeared with him in Game of Death. He introduced the nunchucks to Bruce Lee. Dan Inosanto is an expert Kali, Eskrima, and nunchuck instructor. One of the best in the world. Look him up. Dan Inosanto. Rashid is saying, it seems like every review you do, I have to go watch it. At least the ones I can find. Hey, man, that's good stuff. Because I'm never going to send you in the wrong direction. Never. Yeah, that's right, main biker. That's the dude with the red headband. That's Dan Inosanto. He's the one that introduced nunchucks to Bruce Lee. Believe it or not. Well, Rashid, you know why that is? That's because I take them at the value that they should be viewed at, and not as, like comparing them to Western films, because you have to try to understand the culture to see and learn and love what's going on within martial art films. If you just watch them as entertainment, like watching a Western or something, that's on the surface. I consider that surface. But if you used yourself to get familiar with the culture of where those films come from, then you can understand the dynamics of why and how martial prowess is so respected and prominent in their culture. See, you have to try to understand the culture first and foremost if you want to get to it to the depth of which how I talk about it. But yeah. But I'm going to get ready to get out of here, you guys. Blue Blood invited me over to his panel this evening, and I know he's checking out some football first, but I'm going to be checking him out as soon as he go live. I'll be over there with him. And you guys be looking out for another Kung Fu Film Focus in the future. I don't know what film I'll do next, but there's time. So I want to say shout out to the mighty LDBC, and I appreciate everybody that came in here this evening. If you didn't hit the like button on your way in, please hit it on your way out. And please share the content, man. There's plenty of Kung Fu martial art film lovers out there, but they don't always know where to go to get some wholesome Kung Fu film talk. And that's what I consider what we have over here on this channel. I try to do my best with what I do. I don't claim to be the best. I just want to be one of the people that can bring you the quality and reminisce on these films. And sometimes in my comment section, I get people that say, show the movie. I'm like, dude, I'm not here for the showing of the film. This is all about review and discussion of these films. You know what I mean? It's like, and it says it in the description. Kung Fu film reviews, discussion, and recollections. That's what this is all about. But you still have some idiots out there who try to ask you to do something that you're not here to do or provide. So, with that said, I'm going to get on out of here. Peace to you all. Enjoy the rest of your week. May you enjoy those fights that are coming up this weekend. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.